James Singh, and I'm going to be talking about my grandfather today, James Singh Sr. But before I start, I'm just going to make a quick offering for him. Okay, so my grandfather was James Singh Sr. He was born on Thursday Island on the 6th of June, 1898. But his Australian story began a lot earlier than that. So my great-grandfather, George Ho Lam Singh, he came from Canton, China in 1873, and he came into Cooktown and opened up a store in Palmerville on the Palmer River goldfields. He didn't stay there very long because he found it was quite dangerous there, so he moved his operations to Cooktown, where he opened up quite a large store there. And he used to sell everything. He used to sell food, a lot of products imported from China, a lot of mining equipment. My grandfather had a business partner in Hong Kong called Army, and they made a deal. It was a business deal, and Army sent over his youngest daughter, and her name was Mary Arbo Lum, as a wife to George. And when Mary arrived, she was very upset because she lived a very privileged life. She was quite rich, her family in Hong Kong, and suddenly she was in Cooktown, which was, if you can imagine, was quite terrible back in the early days. The Chinese came to Cooktown in their droves. A lot of people don't realise this, but in the first couple of years of Far North Queensland, 70% of the population were Chinese, so there actually was a lot more of Chinese than non-Chinese. Mary was 17 when she came, and George was just under 40. So my great aunties always said that she cried every day. She wasn't very happy with the situation. Anyway, the gold ran out and the gold rush quickly petered out. And so James packed up and he moved to the next rush, which was the pearling rush up in Thursday Island. And so they moved there in the early 90s, 1890s. And as soon as they arrived, Mary got pregnant. And so over the next 20 years, Mary had 15 children. So George also opened up a big store there, and he was quite a prominent businessman on Thursday Island. He was credited with building the first hospital up there, and he also had a piggery and a farm on neighbouring Horn Island. So my grandfather James, he was the second oldest child and the oldest son, and because he was the oldest son, he wasn't allowed to go to school. So he needed to stay and help his father with the business. So my great-grandmother ran the store, my great-grandfather ran the farm and the piggery, and James's job every day was to row back and forth in a rowboat from Thursday Island to Horn Island when he was 10 years old to bring all the produce over. All the other kids, they all went to school, and back in those days, Chinese were not allowed to go to public schools. So their only option was the Catholic missionary school. And because of that, my grandfather James's brothers and sisters all became extremely devout Catholics. And when I say devout, I mean there were 2 priests and 2 nuns in that generation. And even today, if you visit any of the other Singh's homes, you're looked down upon by all the Mary and Jesus statues and paintings all over the place.